Philippe Etienne is French ambassador to the United States of America, but far more, has had tours of duty, particularly in Romania. He understands Eastern Europe perhaps more than anyone entering the show. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining Bloomberg.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ambassador, we have limitations. I cannot speak to you, of course, of the domestic politics of France. I believe that's off limit this morning. But I can speak to you of when I'm in London and I get on the train and I go under the channel and I come out. There are the fields of wheat of France. You are in the absolute agricultural nexus of the rich helping the poor with limited food at this moment. How will France help the poor of the world with their wheat and other agricultural products?
It is indeed one of our duties and one of the initiatives we have decided yesterday at the summits in Brussels to take. France, like the United States, is an important producer of wheat, but we have collectively to help the world community to face a food security crisis, which is one of the threats caused by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The first thing to do is, of course, to demand a ceasefire in Ukraine, for the Ukrainian people first, but also because it would be the only way to allow the Ukrainians to sow their seeds and to prepare for the next harvests. But we have also indeed to take initiatives to increase productions, to increase coordination internationally, to help all the countries who are the most vulnerable in the world and who depend from imports of wheat.
Ambassador, the president speaks of 100,000 refugees coming to America. It seems like a tragic statistic given the millions coming over the borders of Romania, of Poland, and the rest. Can France provide leadership in Europe with the amount of number of refugees coming into France? Can that statistic be had?
We have provided leadership because France is holding the rotating presidency of the Council of the European Union. And as soon as the war has started and as the refugees have started to come into the EU, we have decided as EU to give the Ukrainian refugees, more than 3 million already arriving to the European Union, to provide them with a special statute, protection statute. They are schooled, they have access to healthcare, they have access to jobs. We have been doing this immediately. Of course, the refugees first come to the border countries, Poland, Romania, also Slovakia, Hungary, also Moldova outside the EU. But now they are coming to other countries. And you see everywhere, including in France, a huge movement of solidarity for the tens of thousands of Ukrainian refugees which are already in France, in Italy, of course in Germany, very many. So they are coming to us too. And as the EU, we have taken very, very quick and very bold measures to welcome them.
Ambassador, you spoke of Poland, where, of course, the President of the United States is expected to land in just about half an hour's time. Before he did so, though, he was in Brussels with Ursula von der Leyen announcing that agreement on U.S. LNG. What is the French feeling this morning about its energy security and whether or not it is able to wean itself off of Russia?
Well, even if France is a bit less dependent on imports from Russia than other EU countries, it is for us, as a presidency of the European Union, it is a common problem. It is a European problem. The European leaders were convened by our president in Versailles 2-3 weeks ago, and they decided to stop the dependency on Russian imports of energy and also to increase in other fields, food, critical materials, the resilience of our economy. It's a huge lesson to learn from this war, and we will transform decisively the European Union. And to get rid of this dependency from imports from Russia in energy means first, to accelerate our transition and also to diversify our supply, including of gas. From this point of view, the agreement which has been announced by the United States and the European Union about this 15 billion cubic meters additional of American supply to Europe is really important. And we will diversify our supplies so that we get rid of this dependency as quickly as possible.
Ambassador, in Paris on the River Seine are those bright gold domes. They stick out like a sore thumb, and it is Russian architecture of the Russian Orthodox Church. Explain to us the new relationship of Russia that you know so well with your representation of the nation in Moscow explain the new relationship you will perceive of Russia with Paris and France?
Well, for the time being, of course, we need to stop this war. And the relation is mostly that our president is among the leaders who has decided to continue to talk to the Russian president, to tell him that a ceasefire is absolutely necessary. Humanitarian access is absolutely necessary. We have, while we raise the sanctions and the price paid by Russia for this invasion, and these sanctions are really important now, we have to first, as a priority, absolute priority, to get to a ceasefire. And we are doing this in close coordination with the president of Ukraine. Of course, once there is a ceasefire, there could be negotiations, and once there would be negotiations, we could turn to the future. But the absolute priority is a ceasefire.